All right, you ready? I dug up a few stories today that I just couldn't shake. Drop a like and subscribe if you want more. Let's get into it. My classmate has been sending me anonymous gifts. I just realized she's been inside my apartment. Reddit's X-board, where people post the things that keep them awake. The stranger in the next room, the feeling that someone's watching. This one started 2 months ago. I'm a college sophomore, and I'm not usually the type to post online about personal stuff like this, but I need to get it out. I need to know if I'm actually losing my mind or if this is as bad as it feels. 2 months ago, I started finding gifts outside my apartment door. Not expensive things, not threatening things, just gifts. Someone was leaving me thoughtful gifts, and I didn't know who or why. At first, I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe it was my RA doing some welcome week thing, or a neighbor being friendly and weird. But then I realized how specific they were getting. They knew my favorite snacks. Not just any brand, but the exact one I only buy when I'm stressed or studying all night. They knew I loved the Brandon Sanderson Mistborn series. They knew I preferred my coffee with an extra shot and vanilla cream, exactly how I order it. They were watching me. Actively watching, paying attention to things I barely mentioned to anyone, sometimes just once in passing. The gifts kept coming and getting more specific. Every few days, there would be something new outside my door. A book I mentioned once in chemistry lab to my lab partner, my favorite brand of tea, a horror movie on DVD that came out years ago, one I'd only discussed with my roommate. Whoever was doing this wasn't guessing. They knew things about me, details only someone paying close attention would know. And then the gift changed everything. Last Wednesday, I came home and found a vanilla candle at my door. It was actually a nice one, not cheap, wrapped in brown paper with a handwritten note folded beneath the ribbon. For just a second, I thought this was sweet, that someone actually cared. Then I read the note. It said, "I noticed you light candles before bed. I've watched you light them from your nightstand. Thought you'd like this one." My chest went cold. I've watched you light them from your nightstand. Not, "I think you probably like candles." Not, "I bet you'd enjoy vanilla." They had watched me, in my bedroom, at night, doing something I only do when I'm alone. This person has been inside my apartment. They have a key, or they found one, or they can pick locks. And I don't know how long this has been happening. I don't know what else they've seen. I don't know if they've gone through my things, my bedroom, my private spaces. I don't know how many times they've been here while I was home sleeping. This isn't a secret admirer anymore. This is someone who has violated the one place I thought was safe. And that's where OP's post ends, but that's not where the story ends. But then it hits like a wave. If this stranger has been inside the bedroom, what else has she seen? What else does she know? I went through everyone I know. Best friend from high school, my work colleagues, none of them would do this. But then I started walking through my apartment like it was a crime scene, my bedroom first. She knows I sleep with the lights off now, but used to leave one on. She knows about the books on my nightstand, the photos on my dresser. She's seen me at my most vulnerable. Then the living room, where I spend my evenings. The kitchen, where she somehow knew I'd switched to almond milk. I barely remember mentioning that to someone at lunch. How would she know, unless she's watching? How would she know that at all? The realization crept in slowly and then hit me like ice water. She didn't get in once. This was 2 months of visits. That means she has a key. She actually has a key to my apartment. Or she found mine and copied it. Or she's learned the lock somehow. Whatever it is, she can get in whenever she wants. No forced entry, no broken lock, just coming and going like she belongs here. And then OP starts cataloging what this stranger has access to. How much of herself she's given away without knowing. I think about everywhere she might have been. Under my bed, in my closet, my bathroom, the medications I take, the face wash I use, the tampons in the cabinet, my nightstand drawer, the notebook where I write my thoughts at night. My phone could be next. She might already know my passwords, my photos, everything. She knows my sleep schedule. She knows when I'm home and when I'm not. She knows I work late on Thursdays and go to the gym on Tuesday mornings. She knows my favorite tea, my favorite author, the specific way I like my coffee. She knows these things because she's watched me, because she's been inside this space that's supposed to be mine. She knows me better than my family does, better than my closest friends, and I have absolutely no idea who she is. That's the spiral. That's where OP is left, in her own home, surrounded by evidence of a stranger who knows everything about her. The violation isn't just physical, it's intimate, and from here, it only gets darker. But thinking back, there were other moments. Gifts that made no sense unless someone had stood in her apartment watching. The vanilla candle wasn't the only thing. 2 weeks after that, I got a package with my favorite tea, this specific brand I only buy at one specialty shop across town. Not something you just stumble across. Then came the notebook. It was the kind I sketch in before bed, left open on my nightstand. Same brand, same size. The person knew my habits down to what I read under the covers at night. There was a bookmark with my name on it, my actual name written in careful handwriting inside a used copy of the book I'd mentioned wanting to read. I remembered saying, "I've been thinking about getting this," to maybe 2 people in class. How did this person get a used copy, print a custom bookmark, and leave it where I'd find it? The more I thought about it, the more I realized, whoever this was had keys. A key to my apartment. They were coming in when I wasn't home, looking at what I had, what I wanted, what I did in private. The gifts weren't just thoughtful, they were proof of access. That's when I posted about it. The subreddit didn't hold back. This is grooming behavior disguised as gift giving. She's testing how much you'll accept and proving she has access. Contact the police immediately. This is stalking, full stop. File a police report now and request a restraining order immediately. Do not confront her. Do not ask how she got in. Do not engage with her in any way. Let law enforcement handle it. Go back. You were lab partners one semester. Did you ever lend her anything? Give her your address? How does a casual former lab partner get your apartment key? That's what keeps me up at night. I never lent her anything. I'm positive I never gave her my address. I checked my apartment lease, my mailbox, everything. I talked to my landlord and he says the lock wasn't changed recently, so she either copied my key somehow or got access another way. The police are investigating, but not knowing how she got that access is the part that terrifies me most. How long has she had it? I had to know. I went to my landlord first thing and asked for the security footage from the lobby and the hallway outside my unit. He didn't ask many questions after I explained what was happening. The clips went back months. I downloaded them that evening and sat down to watch. A few days later, OP came back with an update. I recognized her from the footage, and she knows I found out. I finally got around to reviewing the security footage from the past month. Most of it is just me coming and going, people in the hallway, delivery drivers. And then I saw her. She's wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, but doesn't hide the key. She walks up to my door like she owns it, pulls out a key without hesitation, and lets herself right in. Not picking the lock, just, "Here's my key, here's your door." She had access the whole time. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely rewind. I watched it 5 times. Every time the same thing. Key in the lock, door opening, her stepping inside. And then I recognized her face. Amber. She was in my anatomy lab last semester. We shared one class, barely spoke. She sat in the back, kept to herself. I didn't think she even knew my name, let alone had a key to my apartment. I called the police that night. They came and collected the footage. They're treating it as stalking and unlawful entry. I'm at my parents' house now. I changed the locks yesterday, but I can't sleep. I keep thinking about how many times she's been in there, what she's seen, what she's taken, whether she realized I would eventually find out. The comment section absolutely lost it. Wait, she has an actual key to your apartment? How is that even possible? That's not obsession, that's pre-planned access. This is genuinely terrifying. This is what people don't understand about stalking. You don't wake up one day with someone obsessed with you. They build access infrastructure first. Key copy, door code, whatever. This person didn't just decide to show up, she planned a way in. OP needs security cameras going back months and needs to check every entry point in that apartment. Wait, she has an actual key to your apartment? How is that even possible? That's not obsession, that's pre-planned access. This is genuinely terrifying. I have no idea. I haven't given anyone a spare. She had to have stolen it from me somehow or convinced my landlord. He's saying he never met her. The police are running it all down now. I don't understand how she had access this whole time and I didn't know. Install hidden cameras in every room of your apartment tonight. Motion sensors on doors and windows. Do not wait for police response time. Document everything if she returns. Reactions split between practical security and shock. Everyone kept circling back to the same thing, the key. Not a broken window, not a picked lock. Someone who walked in like she belonged there, at least in her mind. For OP, home had been violated in a way that couldn't be undone. So here's where things landed. The second I saw her face on the footage, everything went cold. I called the police that day, gave them everything. The gifts, the timeline, the proof she had a key. They took it seriously. I filed a report, turned over the footage, detailed what she'd touched, what she'd photographed. The detective assigned to my case didn't minimize any of it. By Thursday, the restraining order was filed. I haven't seen her since. She dropped out, someone said. I don't care. I'm not going back to that apartment. I changed my locks, changed my address. I'm staying with my parents now. I took 2 weeks off school. Everything feels contaminated. My bedroom, my kitchen, the couch where I thought I was safe. She was there. She watched me. She knew things about me I never wanted anyone to know. A few days later, OP posted an update. I recognized her from the footage, and she knows I found out. I didn't expect this to move so fast. Detective Morrison called yesterday. They brought Sarah in for questioning, and she confessed. Not everything, but enough. She said she wanted to be close to me, that the gifts were how she could show me she understood me. She was sorry for scaring me. Sorry. She violated everything, and she's sorry like she cut me off in traffic. She found a spare key at the complex months ago. She lost track of how many times she went inside. She watched me sleep. She knows what I look like when I'm alone. The restraining order goes through next week. I'm not ready to be okay with this. The comment section understood what this meant. The gift giving is classic obsessive behavior. She's proving she knows intimate details about you that you haven't shared. It's a power play. This is intentional intimidation. That's the weight of it. Your home is supposed to be the one place where you're completely yourself. No mask, no filter, no watching eyes. A stranger in your space doesn't just violate your apartment, it violates that sense of self. Once you know someone has stood in your bedroom, watched you sleep, seen who you are when you're alone, you can't unknow it. That false safety is gone. You rebuild it eventually, but you're always aware now of how thin it was to begin with. That's what stays with you. The stranger you didn't see but knew was there. And on to the next one. My, 23 female, boyfriend, 26 male, ignored my safe word and then said he wanted to kill me. I can't stop shaking. This one starts with what seems like a trust issue. And it is, but it's so much darker than that. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 4 years. The relationship has always had these controlling elements, where he needs to know where I am, who I'm with, what I'm doing. But I told myself that's just how he is, you know? I normalized it. I thought it meant he cared so much. Last week we were being intimate and things got rough. That's not unusual for us. We've had a safe word for a while. I said it. I said our safe word multiple times. He didn't stop. I had to physically get away from him. And when I finally did, when I got out of the situation, he just laughed. Then he said he was in the mood to kill me. I remember standing there shaking. At first I thought maybe he was joking, but the way he said it was so calm, so matter-of-fact. He said he's been feeling this urge for a while, that it will make sense eventually. And then he just went back to normal like nothing happened. I can't stop shaking. I haven't slept. I don't know what to do. He's sleeping in the next room and I'm terrified. What stays with you is the casual certainty. Not rage, not passion. Just a statement about himself, delivered to the person he claims to love. When he said it will make sense eventually, I had no idea what he meant. Is he planning something? Is this a test? Everything feels dangerous now. The apartment feels like a trap. I keep replaying our entire relationship looking for signs I missed, moments that should have warned me. How does your safe word stop working? How does the person you trust most just ignore that? I keep thinking about the controlling elements now. I thought it was love, intensity, protectiveness. But what if it was never about protecting me? What if it was always about owning me? Like I'm something he owns and can dispose of whenever he decides he's done. I'm writing this at 3 in the morning because I can't sleep. I can hear him breathing in the next room. Every time he moves, I freeze. I don't even know if he was serious. That's what's destroying me. I don't know if I've spent 4 years with someone who's been planning to kill me all along. And that's the real horror here. Not knowing if he meant it. Not knowing if you're safe in your own home. Complete uncertainty with someone who has full access to you. The words hung there. He just said, casually, like he was talking about the weather, that he wanted to kill her. And she froze. I couldn't move. I was literally shaking, but he just sat there. Like he just said something normal. His face wasn't twisted or angry or anything. He looked calm. That calm is what broke me. I've seen him angry plenty of times, but this was different. This was just settled. Like he'd already made a decision and told me out of politeness almost. I tried to ask him what he meant. My voice didn't work right. He just repeated it. He said he'd been feeling this way for a while. For a while. Not a few minutes, not today. This has been happening in his head for weeks or months or I don't know how long. And when I asked why he would say something like that, why he would ever say that, he literally said, "It will make sense eventually." Like I should just wait to understand? Like this is some plan that's unfolding and I'm supposed to just accept that my boyfriend is thinking about killing me? The moments that followed were a blur. I kept trying to reframe it. Maybe he meant it in some weird sex thing way, like rough talk that got too rough. But he wasn't talking about sex anymore. He was just explaining, calmly, like he was telling me about something he'd thought through. My brain couldn't process that the person lying next to me had decided something about me, something permanent, and kept it quiet. All this time, I thought I knew him. I thought the control was just how he loved me. I thought the isolation was because he needed me to myself. But what if it was something else? I asked him if he was serious. He said yes. He said he loved me, but he was serious. And I don't know which part broke me worse. That he could say both things at once, or that he sounded so settled about it. No anger, no passion, just a fact he'd decided to share. He said it like it was a promise or a foregone conclusion, and the shaking didn't stop, no matter what he said. The days after were a different kind of horror. Time moved wrong. I didn't sleep that night. Every time my eyes closed, I heard him laugh. By morning, I was shaking, and he was making coffee like it was any other day, like he hadn't said he wanted to kill me. That's what broke me. Not anger, not a breakdown, just the casual way he moved through the kitchen. He asked if I wanted eggs. I said no, and he didn't push. He never pushes. That's part of what makes him perfect, I told myself for years. No arguments, no raised voices. He just decides what we're doing, and we do it. He decides who I talk to, and I don't talk to them. He decides what I wear, and I wear it. I thought that meant he cared. Last week, I realized it meant he'd been training me. I can't leave. I don't have friends anymore. He said they were bad influences, so I stopped texting back. My mom thinks I'm busy. My siblings don't bother calling. I'm alone with a man who said he wants me dead and said it the way other people talk about the weather. I can't leave. I don't know where I'd go. I don't have money. He pays for everything and checks every receipt. I don't have anyone. I'm trapped in a house with someone who's decided I'm going to die, and I'm supposed to just... what? Keep making small talk? The comments section understood immediately. Stop. Stop. You need to leave today and go to a domestic violence shelter. Call the National DV hotline if you need help. This is not negotiable. Ignoring your safe word is assault, and what he said is a threat. The laugh is what gets me. He wasn't angry. He was calm. That's the sound of someone who's thought about this long enough that it doesn't scare him anymore. Has anyone else thought about whether he might actually be having a mental health crisis? The escalation sounds like he could be genuinely unwell. Still doesn't make OP safe, though. The realization crystallized in the comments. This wasn't a breakdown. This was calculation, and she was running out of time. Thursday night. She couldn't sleep. He was sprawled beside her, breathing steady, and she couldn't take it anymore. She needed to know if this was real. I grabbed his phone off the nightstand. My hands were shaking. He'd never bothered locking it. I went straight to his search history, and that's when I started seeing it. Body disposal methods, how long hypothermia takes, the exact temperature at which human tissue begins to freeze, acid degradation of bone. He had bookmarks, dozens of them. And then I found his Pinterest board. I remember standing there in the dark, phone screen lighting up my face, and the title just sat there, Final Resting Places. He had pinned hiking locations, cabins, remote lakes, abandoned houses, all with captions about privacy and seclusion. I started going through the dates: April, March, February. This wasn't new. This wasn't a moment of anger. He'd been planning this for months. Every single search, every single pin, methodical, patient, like he was planning a vacation. I was his itinerary. I called the police right there in the dark. She gave them everything. They moved fast. Within hours, he was in custody. He made bail, and I don't know what to do anymore. The detective called this morning. He's out. His family posted bail, and he's out walking around somewhere, and I don't know where. The restraining order is in place, but that feels like paper. I'm in a hotel right now, checking the locks every 5 minutes. I keep thinking about those searches, all that patience, all those months of planning while he slept next to me like it was nothing. And now he's out there with nothing to do but wait. The detective said they need more time to build the case, but he's out. He made bail. His mother told the court he'd never leave the state. Like that matters when you've been bookmarking places to dispose of your girlfriend's body for months. I keep seeing that Pinterest board. I keep imagining what he was thinking every time he pinned one of those places. The comments hit different. I was in a relationship like this. The controlling stuff is the setup. The statement about wanting to kill you isn't a joke. It's a confession. Please believe him. I work in mental health. His clinical response is a massive red flag. You need police and legal protection involved now, not just leaving. The clinical response is what separates violent person having a moment from person who's integrated violence into their worldview. He's crossed a line most people don't approach. OP needs law enforcement and a DV attorney immediately. Quiet planning cuts deeper than rage. Rage is loud. This was patient, methodical, and somehow, that's worse. So here's what happened next. OP did the hardest thing. She called the police. I made the call from the car. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. When the officer arrived at my apartment, I walked him through everything. The safe word, the laugh, what he'd said. I showed him the text to my sister. He took statements. He looked at me like he believed me, which somehow made it worse because I realized how much I hadn't believed myself. The detective got a warrant for his phone and laptop. That's when they found it. Months of searches, toxicology sites, body disposal methods, photos of secluded areas he'd been saving. A note that said, timeline, spring. I was spring. It was April. They arrested him at work. I was in a hotel by evening. A protective order was being filed. I sat thinking about how I'd been sleeping next to this for years. All those quiet moments I thought were distance. He was planning. He made me small on purpose, made sure I had no one to run to. That wasn't control. That was preparation. 3 days later, OP logged back on with an update. He made bail, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm sorry. The bail hearing was this morning, and they let him out. The judge said the searches could have innocent explanations. Could have been writing fiction. My lawyer is fighting the protective order, but apparently it wasn't strict enough. He's at his mom's house, 20 minutes away. I cannot sleep. Every noise makes me check the door. Every footstep in the hallway, and I'm convinced he found me. I've called the front desk asking if anyone asked about my room. I check the lock constantly. I requested a room far from stairs, away from ground floor. I don't understand how being terrified of someone isn't enough to keep them from you. I have a protective order, and he's still 20 minutes away. The control didn't stop when I left. It just changed shape. Now I'm trapped with nowhere to run. Comments on this one hit different. This is making me physically sick. Do not confront him again. Call police non-emergency and ask about a safety plan while you're somewhere safe. What stays with you after reading this isn't just the danger. It's how long she lived inside it without knowing. Years of someone building a cage methodically, piece by piece. The scariest part, The person beside you could be planning your death, and you might only find out by accident. You might find the searches the night he decides to make it real. That's what a predator who isolates looks like. On to the next one. My Airbnb host kept appearing in my bedroom at night. When I finally asked her why, she said every guest needs to be properly welcomed into slumber. This story comes from the paranormal board, and honestly, it's a new nightmare fuel. OP books what seemed like a normal short-term rental. Normal host, normal arrival. But then, night one hits. I booked a week-long Airbnb for a work trip. The host seemed totally fine when I arrived. A woman in her 50s, friendly enough, showed me around the cottage, gave me the Wi-Fi password, all the standard stuff. She pointed out the extra blankets, told me how to work the shower, said if I needed anything, just text her. First night, I go to bed around 10 p.m. I'm exhausted from travel. But at 3 a.m., I suddenly wake up. There's a figure standing at the foot of my bed in the dark. Just standing there, completely still. I can't see their face, but I can feel them staring at me. My heart is pounding. I scream, actually scream, and flip on the bedside lamp. It's the host. She's just standing there, staring down at me. No expression. I'm shaking, and I demand to know what the hell she's doing in my room at 3 a.m. And that's when she reveals why. That smile on her face, she doesn't think she did anything wrong. She doesn't look embarrassed or apologetic. She smiles. Actually smiles. "Oh, I'm sorry I startled you," she says. "I do a midnight welcome ritual for all my guests. It helps everyone settle into slumber properly. I was just making sure you were settling in okay." I'm still half asleep and completely freaked out. I tell her to get out of my room, right now. She acts like I'm being unreasonable, like I'm the one doing something wrong by not wanting her in my room while I sleep. She says it's a hospitality tradition, that guests always appreciate it once they understand. Then she finally just leaves. And that's where that first night ends. But the hook? The host doesn't think she did anything wrong, and she's going to be back. Morning came, and I couldn't avoid the confrontation. Whatever her midnight visit meant, whatever she called it, it had to stop here. She was already in the kitchen making coffee, moving around like the intrusion had never happened. I sat down at the table, hands trembling slightly, and told her directly that what she did wasn't acceptable. That I need privacy in my bedroom. That she can't just walk in whenever she wants, no matter the reason. I tried to keep my voice level, reasonable, not angry, not accusatory. I just wanted her to understand that I had boundaries. But when I finished, she looked at me with this expression of hurt and confusion, like I'd wounded her. She said it was a family tradition, something she's been doing for years for all her guests. She called it proper hospitality, ensuring each person settles into slumber safely and dreams peacefully. She seemed genuinely offended that I wouldn't accept this gift, this act of care. She said she was just trying to be a good host, to do her job right. I told her again, more firmly this time, that I don't care what the tradition is or how long she's been doing it. She needs to stay out of my bedroom, period. She nodded and said okay, that she understood, and that she'd respect my privacy from now on. But there was something in the way she looked at me when she said it, a calmness, a patience, that didn't match her words. It was the look of someone making a small concession to keep the peace, not the look of someone who actually agreed with me. I realized then that her respect and my respect were two very different things. Back at work that day, the weight of the situation had fully crystallized. This trip wasn't optional. The paycheck was essential, budgeted down to the dollar. Leaving early would destroy everything financially. Checking into a hotel wasn't even remotely possible, which meant 4 more nights under that roof. 4 more nights with someone who genuinely believed standing over a sleeping stranger in the dark was a form of care. The second night arrived, and so did the real fear. Door locked. Locked again for good measure. In bed with eyes wide open, muscles tense, listening for any sound. Around 2 in the morning, footsteps outside the bedroom, slow and deliberate, moving down the hallway. The footsteps stopped right at the door. Then came silence. A thick, suffocating silence that stretched on and on. Nothing happened that night, but lying there in the dark, knowing she was standing just outside, waiting for something, that's when the terror became real. The next few nights proved this wasn't going to stop on its own. I didn't sleep much after that. Every shadow felt like her, every creak. I kept telling myself to power through the work week and then I'd never have to see this place again. But by the third night, something changed. I wasn't just disturbed anymore. I was scared in a way that made staying in that room feel impossible. So I locked the bedroom door. Actually locked it, deadbolt fully engaged. I wanted to test whether she'd try anyway. She did. I'd hear footsteps in the hallway around 2 or 3 a.m., just pacing, pausing outside my door. Silence. Then the footsteps would move away. But here's what made it worse. When I checked the lock the next morning, it would be open. Unlocked. How? I never heard keys, never heard picking sounds, nothing. The deadbolt was just undone. Like she had a way in despite me locking her out. Or like she could unlock it from the other side once she was inside. I was terrified, but also furious. This wasn't hospitality. This was a violation. I wasn't just a guest in her home anymore. I felt like I was something she owned, something she had access to at 3 a.m. whenever she wanted. By day 4, OP made a decision. I decided to confront her directly, but calmly this time. I knocked on her door in the morning and asked if she had a few minutes to talk. She seemed pleased. We sat in the kitchen with tea, and I laid out exactly what was happening. I understood she thought she was being hospitable, but I needed privacy. I needed her to stop coming into my room at night. I was direct but gentle, and she just smiled at me, that same blank smile. She said she understood I was uncomfortable with the tradition, but most guests adjusted within the first few nights. Most guests. The phrase hit me wrong. How many people had she done this to? She assured me she would try to respect my wishes, but she seemed hurt, like I was refusing some kind of gift. When I pushed back, said again that this needs to stop, she didn't look shocked or embarrassed. She looked sad, disappointed in me, like my fear was an insult to her hospitality. That's what got under my skin the most. She seemed genuinely convinced that what she was doing was okay, that I was the one being unreasonable. Other people reading her post had caught that exact detail. The smile is the worst part to me. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but she'd normalized it so much she didn't even hide it anymore. Did you call the police immediately when you found the guest book? This is full-blown voyeurism and breaking and entering. But before OP could figure out her next move, something else was about to surface. Something much worse. A few days later, OP came back with an update post. The police found videos. I'm not going back to get my things. I left my room and explored the cottage. I found the library on the second floor. Behind a loose brick in the wall was a journal. Not the cute guest book she kept in the living room. This one was hidden. I opened it and started reading. The entries went back years. She watches for hours. I could feel her there. March 2024. I felt her breath on my face while I was sleeping. When I opened my eyes, she just smiled. November 2023. Found her in my room at 2 a.m. staring at me. She has a key. 2 months ago. My things were moved. I think she took photos of me. I'm terrified. September 2023. There were 47 entries spanning 5 years. Every single one the same. She would come at night. She would watch. Sometimes for hours. And she was documenting it all like some kind of record. I realized this wasn't eccentricity or a misguided hospitality ritual. This was systematic. This was predatory. She'd been violating guests for half a decade. I photographed every page and contacted the police. I gave them the photos, dates, everything. They got a warrant. They found her laptop. They found the videos, hundreds of them. Hours of footage of guests sleeping. I didn't wait to see what charges would stick. I left that night, and I'm not going back. When people saw those guest book entries, everything clicked. This wasn't eccentricity. This was a documented pattern of predatory behavior, and Reddit responded accordingly. This is exactly why I stopped using Airbnb 5 years ago. Zero accountability, zero vetting. Hotels have actual management structures. Those guest book entries are evidence. If you still have the original, send it to police. Other victims won't come forward without proof. That "watched me for hours" entry is what breaks my brain. This woman was voluntarily standing in a stranger's bedroom in the middle of the night, just observing them sleep. Exactly. This isn't a boundary violation, it's voyeuristic predatory behavior. The hospitality ritual is her rationalization, her way of reframing what she's actually doing. Whether it's obsession, voyeurism, or something else entirely, she's dangerous and has managed to stay under the radar by controlling the narrative in her own property. And that's where this one lands for now. So I did what I should have done sooner. I detailed everything. The guest book, the standing at my bed incidents, all of it. And I sent it straight to Airbnb. I included the photos of the guest book pages, dates, everything. Described what happened each night and asked if other guests reported similar experiences. 2 days later, Airbnb's safety team called. They'd already contacted 5 other people who had stayed there. All reported the same, waking to find her standing in their rooms, the footsteps, the feeling of being watched. Some mentioned recording on their phones or finding her photographing them at night. Airbnb suspended her account within 48 hours. But here's what keeps me up. I still don't know if charges were actually filed. I called local police twice, got transferred around, was told my report was filed, but nothing came of it publicly. No arrest announcement. I don't know if she's still there. I don't know what she did with the videos, the photographs. I don't know how many people she violated before being stopped. But the worst part came next. OP posted an update days later. The police found videos. I'm not going back to get my things. A detective called. When Airbnb contacted the guest who'd recorded on her phone, they finally turned the footage over to police. There's video of her entering rooms, standing over sleeping guests for minutes, touching things, moving belongings. They found a hard drive with thousands of images, close-ups taken from inches away, timestamps going back years. The detective asked if charges were being filed, said it was under investigation, asked if I'd have to testify. Probably, he said. That's when I told him I wasn't coming back, wasn't staying at that property, wasn't gathering my things, wasn't doing anything except getting as far away as possible. Clothes and toiletries could stay behind. Nothing material was worth going back to that cottage. The comments on the update hit different. Isn't supposed to find things this real and recent. This reads like a police report. Please tell me you reported her name. I'm reading this at 3 a.m., and now I'm genuinely terrified to book any short-term rentals. How are we supposed to know which hosts are safe? What gets to me is the layer beneath the hospitality language. She'd rationalized predatory behavior as tradition, as care, cloaked systematic voyeurism in the warmth of a welcome. The worst part is the not knowing. What's on those hard drives? How many years this had been happening? That's the kind of violation that sticks with you. If you're booking short-term rentals, trust your instincts. If something feels off on arrival, leave. No job is worth that risk. On to the next one. My coworker has been mirroring my voice to clients so perfectly that I'm being erased from my own career. This one comes from the X board, and it's a descent into the uncanny. I work as a senior account manager at a marketing firm. I've been here for 8 years with solid relationships with our major clients. I'm good at it. I know my clients, I know how to talk to them, and they trust me. 6 weeks ago, my company hired this new guy. Call him Mark. He started as an account coordinator, entry level, placed on my team to shadow me and learn the ropes. Quiet at first, just taking notes during client calls, sitting in meetings. But after maybe 2 weeks, I started noticing something off. He was picking up the way I talk. Not just the words, but the rhythm, the pacing, the tone of voice. I have this habit of doing a quick summary at the start of calls, sort of, so here's where we landed last time, here's what I'm thinking for next. And Mark started doing it too, in exactly the same way. At first, I figured it was just normal mirroring that happens when you work with someone. People pick up speech patterns. But it kept getting more pronounced. The way I phrase things, my little verbal tics, even the way I laugh during calls. It started feeling less like normal workplace stuff and more like he was copying a recording of me. Then came the moment that made it impossible to brush off. Sarah, one of my major clients for almost a decade, reached out. She told me I sounded off on our last call, said I seemed distant, less engaged than usual. But when she was on calls with Mark, I apparently sounded more like myself. I was confused and frustrated. I am myself when I talk to her. So I brought it up with my boss, thinking it was strange and looking for some guidance. His response stopped me cold. He said, "Yeah, actually, some of the clients have mentioned they prefer working with Mark. He's got a really engaging style." I stared at him. "He's engaging because he's using my style," I said. "He's literally copying how I talk to clients." My boss kind of brushed it off, said maybe Mark's approach was fresh for some clients, and having another person who could handle things in a similar way was good for the firm. We could cover more ground. That's when it hit me. I wasn't building something good for the company. I was being replaced by my own voice. My clients weren't asking for me anymore. They were asking for someone who sounded like me but wasn't me. And my boss didn't just see it as a problem, he saw it as a solution. To him, Mark had become the better version of me. But this was just the beginning. Things were about to get much worse. The requests started coming in almost immediately. Not polite preferences, demands. Within 2 weeks of him shadowing my accounts, clients started asking for him by name. "Can we talk to your coworker next time?" One client I'd worked with for 3 years emailed my boss asking if I was handling her account anymore because I sounded off, like I was the imposter in my own voice. My boss started reassigning accounts, not officially, just gradually moving my clients to his queue. I'd find out when someone would call expecting me and get transferred. My revenue split dropped. I finally confronted him, asked point blank if he was deliberately copying me. He said he had no idea, that it was just how he naturally communicated now, that he couldn't help it if we had similar styles. Couldn't help it, like it was an accident, but it wasn't. Because the more he denied it, the more I questioned myself. Maybe I was imagining it. Maybe I was jealous. Maybe I was paranoid about someone who happened to pick up my exact cadence, my laugh, my way of saying, "at the end of the day," before making a point. My boss pulled me aside after, said clients complained I was being difficult about coverage. Difficult. Not because I was being replaced, because I was resisting it. That's when I knew nobody would believe me. Comments on this hit different. "This is genuinely one of the most disturbing things I've read. You're describing being replaced by a Xerox of yourself in real time. Have you documented the client calls? You might have legal grounds." The documentation angle was something else entirely, though. Your boss orchestrated this. Document everything. Emails, call recordings, if legal in your state, client feedback. This is constructive dismissal and potentially defamation if he's telling clients you're unreliable. I've been saving everything. Call recordings, emails from my boss saying things like, "let him shadow your accounts so we have backup coverage." Texts from clients asking why I'm being weird. I have a lawyer now. But here's what kills me. When I played back a call recording where he's clearly imitating my exact inflection, my boss said I was imagining things. They're actively gaslighting me into thinking I'm the problem. But documentation wouldn't matter for what came next. So OP starts keeping records. I started recording our client calls and his daily interactions, comparing obsessively. It's not mimicry anymore, it's precision. The laugh, that specific upturn at the end of, "well, yeah," his breath before an explanation, the 3-beat pause he does after clients say something important. I timed it. 3 beats, every time. That's my pause. I have voice memos from last year doing the exact same thing. When I caught him using my phrase, "let's circle back and put a ribbon on it," my personal closing line, something shifted. He looked at me completely genuine. "I don't know where you got that." But I haven't recorded. Exact cadence, exact inflection, every time. Last Tuesday with Henderson, 5-year client, my account, word for word. My girlfriend listened to a side-by-side. She couldn't tell which one was me anymore. She said it felt like watching someone wear my skin. I stopped sleeping. I can't turn my voice off, and I can't not hear him doing it, flawlessly, like it's always been his. But hearing yourself echoed back perfectly, that breaks something. Sarah from the next cubicle pulled me aside Friday. "Is everything okay?" No small talk. I said yes. She said, "I've been here 3 years. I've never heard you sound unsure. But this week you're doubting everything you say." That's when I realized what's happening. I'm not being mimicked. I'm being replaced. When he talks, he's confident, assured, effortless. When I talk, I sound like a tired copy. I'm second-guessing myself. He stopped making eye contact last week, and now he wears glasses. The same frames I wear, same angle, same everything. He never had glasses before. He made a joke about perfect vision in January. Now he's wearing them exactly like mine. I checked my own reflection, and for a moment, I couldn't tell us apart in the glass. Everything is becoming him, or I'm becoming someone else. I can't tell which one is real anymore. Responses came in with teeth. The fact that he couldn't stop when you confronted him is what gets me. That's not ambition. That's something deeper and darker. The apartment visit crosses into stalking. Police report immediately. Do not underestimate how dangerous this escalation is. Absolutely this. Once someone shows up at your home uninvited and has adopted your appearance, the behavioral pattern has crossed from weird office thing into genuine threat territory. OP needs to take this seriously and file a report, even if it feels like overreacting. The pattern is escalating, and that's the danger signal. And then, OP would discover the real reason why. And then the real answers started coming to light, and things got so much worse. I finally got up the courage to ask my boss directly what was going on. Why was he having shadow me so closely? Why were the clients gravitating toward him? My boss sits me down and tells me he explicitly instructed when he was hired to study how I work for account coverage. He said it was supposed to help with succession planning or transition purposes, but he never told me, never warned me. I'm standing there realizing that my own boss set me up to be erased. But then I find out it gets even worse. Has been telling clients that I'm inconsistent and he's more reliable. That's his defense. He's been actively cutting me out while mirroring my voice. A few days later, OP came back with an update post. He looks exactly like me now, and I'm terrified. I've been avoiding writing this because I didn't want to face what I'm about to type. After I found out about what my boss did, that he explicitly told to study me, I confronted him directly. I asked him why he was telling clients I was unreliable. He looked at me and said he couldn't help himself. Those were his exact words. I couldn't help myself. It just happened. He's been shadowing me for 6 weeks, and now he sounds exactly like me, looks exactly like me, even mimics the same mannerisms I do. He went from being nobody to being indispensable. I went from being the trusted voice to being the inconsistent one. The worst part? When I pressed him on whether any of this was intentional, he just said he couldn't control it. Like he became me without even trying. Like I was so easy to copy that it happened automatically. But the sickest part is looking in the mirror now and not recognizing myself anymore. The comment section didn't hold back. This one hit especially hard. Reading this made my skin crawl. The idea that someone is so good at copying you that the world stops seeing you as real, that's existentially horrifying. And that's only the beginning. On to the next one. Things came to a head fast. Within 2 weeks of that discovery, I was called into the conference room with my boss and HR. They didn't fire me outright. They said my role was being restructured. Effective immediately, I was being moved to a different division with a lower title and pay cut. The coworker, they said, had proven more reliable for client relationships. I didn't have proof, nothing written. The boss played dumb when I pushed back. He said he never instructed anyone to study how I worked. The coworker just happened to be attentive. It was coincidence. I'm a liar. I'm jealous. I'm hearing what I want to hear. I quit 3 days later. I couldn't stay in that environment where my own voice was weaponized against me and everyone pretended not to see it. I couldn't stay where the company gaslighted me into thinking I was the problem. Walking out was the only way I kept any piece of myself. The worst part? They gave me no severance, no reference. My career trajectory, built over years, was erased in one meeting. 2 months later, I got a message from a colleague still at the firm. What she told me made my stomach drop. He looks exactly like me now, and I'm terrified. He's been shopping at the same stores where I buy clothes. The coworker showed up to a client meeting wearing the exact same color and cut of jacket I used to wear. Colleagues saw it and said nothing. But here's the worst part. He started doing something in his free time. Following me on social media, screenshots of my photos. He's been showing up at places I go on weekends, the coffee shop I like, the gym I used to use before I quit. A former teammate saw him there, mimicking not just how I talk, but how I move, my gestures, even the way I drink water. It's not about work anymore. It's about becoming me. And I have no job, no connections left at that firm, and no proof of any of it. Just the sinking feeling that something inside him broke and he decided to wear my identity. The comments on this thread had something to say about that. There are actual psychological conditions where people compulsively mirror others. Doesn't make it okay, but it might explain why he couldn't stop. Still terrifying, and still your boss's fault for enabling it. There are actual psychological conditions where people compulsively mirror others. Doesn't make it okay, but it might explain why he couldn't stop. Still terrifying, and still your boss's fault for enabling it. On to the next one. I, 28 male, found my mother's hidden journal. She's been writing in it since before I was born. The entries are destroying me. It was a Saturday morning in May when Lost Decade Now posted to the paranormal board. 28 years old. No preamble, no warning, just a man who needed to tell someone, anyone, about what he'd found behind a loose brick in his mother's closet. I went into my mom's closet looking for something she'd borrowed from me. I was moving boxes and my hand caught on one of the bricks in the back wall. It was loose, really loose. Behind it was a gap. Inside the gap was a journal, handwritten, old. The cover said 1996. I knew what I was holding before I even opened it. My stomach dropped. I pulled it out and sat there on her closet floor with this thing in my hands, not breathing. The first entry was January 3rd, 1996. Before I was born. Before I even existed. The handwriting was hers. Shaky at first, then getting steadier. And what I started reading, I can't explain it. Cryptic stuff. Dates circled, references to the plan I didn't understand. I kept reading. Months went by on those pages. January to February to March. And then I hit an entry from March 1996 that made me stop breathing completely. And that's when she wrote something that changed everything. He needs to be born in the winter. The winter babies are harder to trace. Once he's here, no one will ever know what I did. My mother wrote that. About me. Specific. Deliberate. Cold. I read it 30 times. 50 times. I still don't understand what she did, but I understand she planned something before I existed. Something involving my birth being in winter so no one could trace it. I understand my entire life might have been orchestrated since before I was conceived. I flipped to the 2005 entries, where I'm at now while writing this. The entries keep going. Recent entries, recent handwriting. And every page reinforces the same thing. Nothing was random. Everything was arranged. Everything was her. I don't know if I can finish reading this journal. I don't think I can stop. And that's where he ended the post. A 28-year-old man with a hidden journal spanning nearly 3 decades sitting on his mother's closet floor, trying to understand why she orchestrated his entire existence before he was even born. The first entries didn't ease things. They spiraled deeper. Winter of 1996, and OP's hand started shaking just trying to read his mother's handwriting. June 1996. The plan is set. The dates are marked. Winter is the window. I've been reading about it for months. The hospitals, the records, the trails they leave. Winter babies are harder to track in the noise. Once he's here, no one will ever look twice. Not if. Not maybe. He, like she already knew. July 1996. Called Dr. Henderson again. Told him it was routine questions. Why would he suspect? I'm just planning ahead. The backup dates are highlighted in red. If the first window closes, there are 3 others. Backup dates. Windows. What was she planning? August 1996. The materials arrived Tuesday. I hid them behind the loose brick in the closet, the same one I'll use later. He won't find them. Not for years. The thought of that makes my hands shake. Materials. What materials? September through November, single lines circled in red. Conception window open. Day 14 optimal. He needs to know his mother. Only his mother. Another line, underlined. No one can interfere with this. Not family, not fuck, not anyone. December 1996. I was reading about my own conception, my own birth. She wasn't documenting a plan. She was executing it. And she'd planned this since before I even existed. The entries only got worse moving forward. By 1997, the language shifted. 1997 came with new urgency in her handwriting. January 1997. 2 months now. He's on his way. I can feel it. The preparations are nearly complete. Once he arrives, the real work begins. I need him dependent. I need him to trust only me. The world is full of people who want to take what's mine. February 1997. Positive. I'm carrying him. My son. The plan is alive inside me. No one suspects anything. Not my husband, not my family. They all think this is natural. They think he's just a normal pregnancy. That word, mine. Not his, mine. March through June. Entries about routine appointments, but sandwiched between were other notes. Cryptic observations. Mother visits next week. I need her to see a healthy pregnancy. Nothing more. M called about old business, told him it's not relevant anymore. Entire conversations with herself about isolation, about making sure no one else got close enough to matter. July 1997. He was born on the 14th. Perfect. The winter window held. He's beautiful and entirely mine. I've waited so long for this. Now begins the part I've been training for. The protection, the dedication, the absolute control that comes from being the only person he can count on. I had to stop reading. My mother had written that. She'd been planning to own me since before I was born. This wasn't just a plan. It was a prophecy she'd written before he even existed. And it came true, exactly as written. As Lost Decade now keeps reading deeper into the 1990s and early 2000s, the journal shifts. It's no longer abstract planning. The entries become a ledger, a meticulous, terrifying record of every single thing she controlled. The handwriting gets smaller around 1998, more frantic. She'd written out my entire infancy like some kind of experiment log. March 15. Disrupted playdate with the Morrison boy. Too much influence. Rescheduled soccer camp for June instead. And then I started remembering actual moments from the entries. That bike accident before tryouts for the competitive league? She'd written the date down. Accident arranged for April 12. He needs to stay local. Needs me. By 2002, the entries documented every friendship she'd sabotaged, every opportunity she'd dismantled. The language wasn't about parenting, it was about containment. He's asking too many questions about where he came from. Reminder, he can never know the truth. I read through pages of my childhood being systematically weaponized by the woman who raised me. Every choice I thought was mine wasn't. She'd planned it, written it down, kept records like proof. The 2004 entries barely made sense, just fragments. He's getting older, getting strong. What if he tries to leave and finds out? Over and over. The box. I need the box to stay hidden. The comment section on this one didn't hold back. Stop reading immediately. This is evidence of emotional abuse at minimum, potentially something much worse. Talk to a therapist first, then possibly law enforcement. Do not confront her directly. The winter birth, the trace language, the controlled relationships. She's not documenting a child she's raising. She's documenting an experiment. Get yourself to safety and talk to a professional. The trace reference and mentions of a plan dating back before your birth. She might believe you're adopted or that she's hiding something about your origins. This is beyond controlling behavior. This sounds delusional. That's what's eating me alive. I look exactly like her. Same eyes, same weird-shaped pinky toe. But the way she writes about when he finds out the truth, it's like she's talking about someone she abducted, not her biological son. There's a box under her bed I haven't opened yet. I don't know if I have the stomach to see what's in there. OP kept reading through the 2000s. That's when the entries shift from abstract planning to something darker. I read to the end. She wasn't lying about my real parents. I'm not who I think I am. I forced myself through the rest. 2005 starts with Sarah, my girlfriend. The entries are clinical. Dates, times, detailed accounts of how she sabotaged it. Called Sarah's house at specific times to make sure they'd break up at the precise moment. Told her mother lies about money problems. Manufactured encounters with exes. Pages and pages documenting every intervention. And Sarah wasn't alone. 2010, 2015, 2019. Every time I got close to someone, she's documented what she did to destroy it. The handwriting deteriorates as the years progress. Shaky, frantic by 2024, barely legible. He needs to stay with me. He needs to understand that control is love and love is control. And without me, the world will hurt him. And then the entries about my real parents. Not names, just references to promises made, what she agreed to, what she'd done to keep me. She's been executing this plan for almost 30 years. Not insanity, calculation. And I'm sitting here knowing she'll call soon, and I have no idea what any of this means, or who I even am. The comments descended into something between panic and confirmation. The fact that she's been writing about this for decades suggests this isn't a recent mental health crisis. She's been planning and obsessing over your entire existence. That's genuinely disturbing. Please tell me you're keeping that journal somewhere safe, and that you haven't told her you found it. If even half of what you're describing is true, her reaction to you knowing could be dangerous. This is the only thing that matters right now. If she's been documenting an obsession for 28 years, she's already thought about what happens if he reads it. She has a contingency plan. Please tell me you're keeping that journal somewhere safe and that you haven't told her you found it. If even half of what you're describing is true, her reaction to you knowing could be dangerous. The final entries held something even worse. 3 days. OP sat with the journal and made no choice. Not finish it. Not confront her. Not destroy it. Just paralyzed. I haven't decided anything yet. I could finish reading, know exactly what she did, every sabotage, every calculation in her own handwriting. Or I could go upstairs and ask her directly. Let her deny it, justify it, explain what real parents even means. Third option is burning it. Ash in the sink, no answers, no confirmation. Just peace through destruction. I can't pick any of them. Finishing means I live with knowing everything. Confronting her means watching her face when she realizes I know. Burning it means choosing ignorance forever, and what if there's something crucial in those later pages? What if she's warning me about something? I'm trapped at 2 a.m. in this kitchen, and every path forward leads deeper into a maze my own mother designed. That's the worst part. This wasn't accident or bad luck. Someone who was supposed to protect me spent decades engineering my suffering. And she's asleep down the hall like none of it happened. OP came back a few days later with an update. I read to the end. She wasn't lying about my real parents. I'm not who I think I am. I finished the journal. All of it. 1996 to 2024. The later entries are different. Less planning, more panic and manic scrawling about keeping me safe, about how I was born to a mother she couldn't let raise me. Violent, unstable. She saved me by taking me. Birth certificate is fake. Social security number might be fake. She's documented everything. Clinic names, doctor payments, forged records. I don't know who I am. I don't know what's real about my life, or if all of it is a cage she built around me. She's downstairs right now, pretending this is a normal Sunday. I don't know if I call the police or ask her or just disappear. I feel like I'm dissolving. The account went silent after that. No replies, no follow-up, just that final message and then nothing. And here's what sticks with you. It's not the conspiracy, it's the absolute unknowability. OP doesn't know which reality he's living in, doesn't know what's real, what's sabotage, what's salvation. Both could be true at once. And that's psychological control at its absolute peak. It poisons your past and makes your future impossible to navigate. Every memory, every relationship becomes something to question, every choice untrustworthy. And the silence that followed? That might be the scariest part of all. I know you want answers, but reading that journal feels like watching someone's descent into obsession in real time. I'm genuinely concerned about what you'll find in the later entries. And that's the last story for today.